Welcome to Into the Unknown with Mike and John. Tonight, Mike and I open a hermetically sealed volume of secret knowledge. We'll attempt to manifest a crystal clear comprehension of the Swami of Baltimore and his multiple publishing personalities in his seminal tome, the Kybalion. I'm John Fitzpatrick.
And I'm Mike Duber.
Mike, what's the story here?
Well, there's a lot of story here. So let's look at this book, the Kybalion. So it's presented as a book of Hermetic philosophy published in 1908 by the Yogi Publication Society of Chicago. Now the mysteries, indeed, John, the unknown surrounding this book is one of the reasons it remains popular. It states its roots run deep in ancient Hermetic wisdom and is written under a strange pseudonym, 3 Initiates. That's all it says, 3 Initiates.
I thought I said it was the Swami of Baltimore. You'll get to that.
We're going to get to this, Swami. It is a perennial favorite of New Thought and Hermetic scholars, philosophers, students, and seekers of all types. So, how does this book remain in keeping with our local Maryland premise, you may ask? Well, allow me to introduce our first character, the Swami of Baltimore.
The Swami?
Swami, baby. William Walker Atkinson, the alleged author of the Kybalion. We cannot be entirely certain he wrote the book, but research seems confident it was him. I'd like to pause and offer some thanks here to Philip DeSlip. I pull from his research, especially the title he created for Atkinson, the Swami of Baltimore.
Swami?
From a magazine article he wrote.
I'm just going to keep saying that.
I think you should, because it's so funny. And we will see later that this Swami of Baltimore title, it's important, and it's an appropriate one as well. So William Walker Atkinson's origin story takes place in Baltimore, although he eventually ends up in Chicago during his prolific writing and publishing years. He was born in the city September 5th, 1862.
September?
Did I say September?
You said September.
Did I? I said it's December. I did.
I heard December. Let's just leave that in. I heard December.
Okay,
At least the
that's
second
right.
time.
We're going to manifest that change.
You have no memory of that
He was born in the city December 5th, 1862. This is why I can increase my font type. That's why I had it there before. That's okay.
I almost said
that's
something
okay.
about that.
It's all right.
It's okay.
It's all right. It's why I have glasses. So a young practical Atkinson started working at the age of 15 in his family's grocery shops in Fells Point, and he became well-versed in business. He did well for himself, eventually marrying, having 2 children, and in 1894, John, he was accepted into the Bar of Pennsylvania and started a law practice.
So we still have a legal connection,
We do.
even here with the Swami of
do.
Baltimore.
He may have been aware of the Ouija board.
Probably.
Story it's known as a contemporary. Okay, but sadly, in the late 1890s, the stress and strain of success took its toll. Atkinson suffered a nervous breakdown. He faced physical and financial ruin. Some things never change. He purportedly disappeared from the world for 6 weeks. Now, it was during this inflection point Atkinson discovered the New Thought movement. Now, although I did not discover what exactly he read from the New Thought movement or what book he may have run into, Atkinson credits the movement with restoring his health, mental vigor, and prosperity. His profound personal healing ignited a desire in Atkinson to share these truths with others, and so was born William Walker Atkinson, the prolific New Thought writer. In 1900, he moved to Chicago, the center of the New Thought movement, and by 1901, he was lecturing on personal magnetism and had published his first book, Thought Force. Most importantly, he honed a unique writing style, one that is direct, authoritative, and encouraging. His style connected with readers, and Atkinson found success. But he was not only successful writing as William Walker Atkinson. You may have heard of Yogi Ramacharaka, Theodore Sheldon, Swami Bhaktivinoda, Theron Q. Dumont, Swami Panchadasi. How about 3 initiates?
Okay, slow clap for making it through that list. I know you practiced.
I did.
I know you practiced. That's not your first time.
Because you don't want to hit those cold, man.
No,
because
no,
they'll hit you back.
No, yeah.
Yeah, folks, like, that's not how you pronounce Panchadasi. We don't want that. So you guessed it, they are all those names that I got through successfully, they are all probably the same person, William Walker Atkinson, the Swami from Baltimore. Now, as you all know, pseudonyms are common. This is not controversial or strange. But Atkinson apparently never admitted to those pseudonyms, which lends to the air of mystery. And it's good business. At that time, the incoming Eastern ideas were, and still are, very popular in New Thought. Publishing under an exotic name gave the air of authority and mystique about the content. And everyone was doing it, dressing in Eastern-style garb, doing the yogic exercises. It was a fad and fashion. Atkinson was simply participating. Now, to name and describe the over 100 books Atkinson wrote over 32 years using multiple pseudonyms is out of scope. Other rabbit holes, just letting you know that we are stepping over and not tripping on, are such as, did he channel this information? That's a lot of information.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Was he working with anyone? There are some suggestions that certain gurus and swamis that had come and gone that he engaged with, but
lesser lights.
Yeah.
Certainly must be.
Well, but apparently, I did a little digging there, and it says, like, nope, so far, it's all him, which is amazing. And finally, we're not going to talk about whether he was a reincarnated guru himself. Out of scope. Okay. But, it's an interesting guy, so we might come back to it, but you never know.
Who knows?
All right. So
more pins.
That's more pins. I've got plenty of pins. Got a pocket full of pins. On to the book. The Kybalion is presented as a study of Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece. In the book's introduction, we learn just what kind of journey we are embarking upon. And to paraphrase, this is not religious dogma, but statements of truth that seek to reconcile many pieces of occult knowledge that seekers of truth may have heretofore acquired, which oppose each other and only serve to discourage and disgust the beginner. The book is not a new temple of knowledge, but a master key to reconcile divergent views and beliefs. These are core and original 7 principles of all beliefs across the globe, across the ages. Wow, interesting, right? The key takeaways are, he's saying it's not religion, it's not dogma, it's not doctrine. These are core, original, reconciling philosophical principles, and these each contain master keys that open mental doors. Now, the introduction and then the next chapter, titled The Hermetic Philosophy, goes on to discuss the following. The progenitor of this knowledge, or purportedly, who is Hermes Trismegistus. I'm using that hard G because I heard someone use the hard G as opposed to the Magistus is what I heard. Anywho.
Anyway.
Hermes Trismegistus. We're going with that. Someone in the comments can say, nope, the other way. The other thing is we learn in the nature of the occult knowledge, so how it came to be hidden and why, and then the challenge that awaits the student or the person that's reading the book. And the spoiler alert, it is not necessarily easy and is not for everyone, but we'll get to that. The next chapter provides short descriptions of the 7 principles, and then followed by that 4 chapters introducing the core mental constructs of these truths. And the chapter titles are Mental Transmutation, and this covers the ability to transmute one's mind states through different degrees or vibrations. The next chapter, The All, an explanation of everything and what it contains, which is everything.
Well, that's certainly
very descriptive. It's
Certainly
everything.
broad.
It's all of it.
It's
everything. It contains
It's ambitious.
everything. And I'll tell you what it contains is everything. It's
okay.
everything. Yeah.
Let you get to it.
Yeah. Then the mental universe. And this covers everything that is created comes about through thought. Finally, the divine paradox is how to use laws to change laws. And the concept there is that a higher law can change a lower law, but there's ordering and construct to the laws that are talked about here. Now, that all probably sounds vague, and it is at first. This content is not immediately easy to apprehend and needs time and attention. But our goal is not to deep dive into metaphysical philosophy. We leave that for you to seek out and absorb. Take note, deep contemplation is a recurring theme here. Nonetheless, Atkinson gives a solid primer on how to think about these concepts with clear and straightforward writing. They appear simple at first review, but it's been my personal experience that they do invoke more contemplation. There are layers of meaning that are recurring, and I personally found it quite intriguing. I've seen a lot of echoes of this information in other places, and I tend to read pretty widely across lots of different topics. Okay, so the next 7 chapters describe in depth each core principle. Now, I'm just going to read these core principles with their small descriptions just straight, right? And I'm not trying to embellish anything.
These descriptions are right from the book?
All of this. I will number them, and I will say them, and I will give the little description. This is straight from the book.
Okay.
I have not added anything here. Number 1, mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Number 2, correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. Number 3, vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. Number 4, polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Number 5, rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. Number 6, cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Number 7, gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. And that's it. Those are the core principles.
Straight from the book.
Straight from the book.
Okay.
I did not add anything there. So to some, these might seem vague. I mean, this is philosophy. Reading these chapters, I found references to contemporary scientific endeavors of Atkinson's day, early 1900s. This is also intentional on Atkinson's part. He wanted to resonate with early 20th century science to show that the core principles reconciled with modern scientific findings. So noted thermodynamics and quantum physicist Max Planck, a contemporary working in this era, is quoted as saying, John, would you read that quote?
Yes. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force, which brings the particle of an atom to vibration, and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent spirit. This spirit is the matrix of all matter. That's Max Planck.
Max Planck.
Planck.
Yes. Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
So you may discern echoes of the core principles in that quote. For example, vibration. It says it right there. Correspondence is suggested where the solar system above unfolds like the atom below. And you may have noticed the all, described as the matrix of all matter that has a consciousness or a mind. Yes, this may, even today, for sure today, all be up for much debate. But do synonyms and complementary terms across separate ideas and mental constructs suggest any synthesis at all? This rages on, quite frankly. So the next chapter, called Mental Gender, is dedicated to the seventh principle. First, we are told that dual mind theories are numerous. And what I mean by dual mind, some examples are objective and subjective, or conscious and unconscious, voluntary, involuntary, active and passive, etc. But Atkinson explains the I and me dual mind through the lens of Hermetic theories of masculine and feminine traits and tendencies. Here, I'm going to leave that for you as well to investigate, but what the principle suggests at its core is the masculine and feminine traits are for all men and women to exude, and the key is in learning how to balance them. So a man could have both masculine and feminine traits, and he should, as would a woman, and they balance them out. The final chapter discusses the Hermetic axioms. And so we are told, John, if you would,
study the axioms and aphorisms, but practice them also, for they are not really your own until you have used them.
Yes. So that comes straight from the book. And I think this is the heart of the matter, John. It's the call to action, to use the knowledge. In fact, it implores you with this quote, if you would.
I've lost track of where I am.
I'm sorry. There's two double.
I was doing some other housekeeping, and my eyes wandered away. Is this the "If You Were a True Student" course?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's totally fine.
I'm so sorry.
It's totally fine.
Okay.
I did surprise you there.
Yeah. No.
Here's the setup. There's the call to action. Use the knowledge. In fact, the book implores you to use it, and here's the quote.
If you are a true student, you will be able to work out and apply these principles. If not, then you must develop yourself into one. For otherwise, the Hermetic teachings will be as words to you.
Awesome. Yes, so the axioms represent the practical aspects of these Hermetic teachings. This is where philosophy meets reality. After all, philosophy is all about how to live one's life, having a worldview. Let's examine just one of these axioms, just to give you a taste.
To change your mood or mental state, change your vibration.
Well, at first, taken by itself, this makes no sense, right? What does that even mean?
I'm changing my vibration now. Can you tell?
I can.
Do I look happier?
I feel it in my gut.
Oh, baby!
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I think I'm going to get sick. But if you acquainted yourself with the concepts in the earlier chapters, vibration and polarity, this would resonate. Yes, pun intended. In the world of Atkinson's Kybalion, through transmutation of mind, moods can be changed. Bad mood to good, sadness to happiness, discontent to contentment. This is very practical. There are other axioms and aphorisms ready for you to discover. We can't cover them all. But using these axioms, we are told, should result in great benefits. Similar benefits, presumably, Atkinson himself experienced when emerging from his breakdown. But it comes at a cost. Contemplation and meditation on the principles. Not all will seek out this deep understanding, and of those that do, not all will stick with it. And this idea is extremely indicative of Hermetic and Mystery School teaching. Quoted from the Kybalion,
keepers of ancient wisdom reserve their pearls of wisdom for the few elect, who recognize their value and who wear them in their crowns, instead of casting them before the materialistic vulgar swine who would trample them in the mud and mix them with their disgusting mental food.
That's quite a quote, isn't it?
It certainly brings an image to mind.
Right from the book.
Yeah.
Well, this invokes the idiom, cast not pearls before swine, and this is from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in the book of Matthew. It's a warning against wasting precious things on those who are incapable of recognizing their worth, potentially leading to their devaluation, destruction, or even harm to the provider or the giver of the wisdom. And this brings us to criticisms of Hermetic knowledge and tradition, namely occulting esoteric information. Occulting information is part of the mystery school playbook. It's a feature, not a bug, at least according to them. And there are reasons, but that's out of scope. We're not going to cover that, really. There's a lot to dig in on.
I think there's another pin here for another time.
Big pin. It's worth going into, but we're gonna sit aside that for now. And there are good reasons too. I don't want to cast any.
It's just
there are good and weird reasons. I would say.
It's just that if we tried to get into that now, we'd be down a really.
It would, and it takes us away from the book.
No, we're trying to stay on topic. Which is the Kybalion.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to come back to occulting esoteric information and the groups that do it, because there are a lot. There are a lot. And, it's groups you may not suspect, and that's not conspiracy. Anyway, although Atkinson is not really hiding anything per se, in fact, he is bearing it all for anyone to read and discover. There is still a suggestion, though, that it's hard, and not everyone will discover the deeper knowledge and apply it. Isn't that true for many things? Nothing worth having is easy. They don't hand out law degrees to just anyone, do they, John? Maybe they do.
Oh, boy. Well,
we do not want to comment on the times.
I think I'm just going to keep my mouth shut there.
Yeah, well,
they hand out law degrees, medical degrees.
Well,
philosophy degrees.
Well, maybe
I don't know.
Maybe that's where the Hermeticists are like, you really ought to occult some of that knowledge.
Too bad this is just water.
Right. Yeah. If you were having, maybe that would be a different discussion. And we'll put a pin in that too.
Okay.
So that's as far down the occult rabbit hole as we're going. It says it right there in black and white text.
And then we're going to leave it at that.
We're going to leave it.
That's
come
the
back.
Voice of experience.
Yeah, we'll come back. Back when it's the main topic. All right, so who is this Hermes Trismegistus? Trismegistus. Okay, who is this character? Well, Hermeticists claim that Hermes Thoth is credited with writing many of the foundational texts of Hermetic philosophy, about 20,000 works, as one scholar quoted. But Hermes Thoth, as a personage, is a confusing blend of myth, syncretized gods, and various stories claiming everything from a living man named Thoth, who predated Moses by 400 years, to some speculation Hermes Thoth was Moses himself. So even among Hermeticists, this is confusing and unsettled, and with plenty of theories. But whether a living person...
That's out of scope.
Yeah. And I may even write it down when it's coming up, because that's another big rabbit hole. A worthy one, but not for now.
Yeah, not for now.
But whether a living person or a personification, this amalgam has coalesced over the ages around Hermes Trismegistus, or Hermes Thrice Great. And that's another part of the rabbit hole where, why is it Hermes Thrice Great? What does that even mean? It's just like honorifics. It is this character, regardless of the confusion, that has had great influence upon the world. That's the end of that.
Okay.
Right? That's Hermes, right? So he's just this weird character from history.
At the beginning of this tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it comes down to, is that he is the acknowledged source.
It's a named
within the
human
tradition.
personage that has a murky background, but we point to this person, and it conjures what you need.
Yep.
So remember, gang, he's the one that has promulgated the Hermetic writings. And
I've got my bag of pins. We'll pin Hermes Trismegistus.
Because we've had a lot of off-mic conversations on this.
He's probably
worth coming back to. We got a lot of knowledge we can talk about.
Unfolding just him, but that sort of goes beyond our initial mission statement.
Yes.
At the moment. So, okay.
So the next mystery. Let's dig into the next mystery. We got the three initiates mystery. Like, is it really Atkinson? Who knows? But the next question is the Kybalion ancient Egyptian and Greek philosophy? Well, the Kybalion states within the first 2 pages it is based on Hermetic teachings. So the question is, are Hermetic teachings themselves, or the Hermetica, as they are known collectively, from ancient Egypt and Greece? So now we turn to Marlene Seven Bremner from her 2022 book, Hermetic Philosophy and Creative Alchemy. This is a direct quote from her book.
The writings, collectively called the Hermetica, date back to late antiquity, but were the result of a much longer process of development that began in ancient Egypt. Yet, the Hermetic writings were not simply direct translations from the Egyptian, but were modified and adapted by the philosophical views of the translators.
Yes, thank you, John. So the influences on the original Egyptian via translation, according to Bremner, come from classical Greek philosophies: Aristotelianism, Pythagoreanism, Platonism, and Stoicism, but also Iranian and Jewish influences as well.
Let me dig in with my bag of pins again.
Yeah.
We'll pin that as well.
Yeah. Yep. But additionally, we should bear in mind translations done through the Renaissance and during the 16 and 1700s. There's a lot of room for interpretation and also mistranslation. So there you have it. I mean, there's a lot of translating going on. And, another book that was heavily edited, redacted, and sliced and diced was the Bible. So the Bible is in the same camp. But back to our question. To the degree you trust, the Hermetica is a true source of Egyptian philosophy translated by seasoned Greek philosophers influenced by cultures far and wide, then yes, the Kybalion is Greek and Egyptian sourced. There is one more mystery we can examine to shed light on the source, and that is the mystery of the pseudonym Three Initiates. Now, there is a sound theory to suggest that the three initiates are William Walker Atkinson, Anna Kingsford, and Edward Maitland. Anna and Edward. Of course, you know who they are, right?
No.
Here we go. As reported by Richard Smoley in the Centenary edition, which I have, before the actual book introduction, tarot scholar Mary K. Greer believes Atkinson was influenced by the work of Kingsford and Maitland from the 1880s work that they did. The core principles in the Kybalion are similar to adaptations of the corpus they prefer in their book, although not considered plagiarized. Atkinson rather distilled the principles into his own words for the Kybalion. So in homage to his influences, we are told, they are among the three, but it's only a theory. So basically, he read their stuff. He said, I like what's there, but I'm going to make it mine. He distilled out these 7 pieces. And rather than just say, I wrote this, or one of my pseudonyms did, he came up with 3 initiates. I don't know. It sounds like a good theory.
It's unknown.
It's unknown, and it's still to this day.
And it's mysterious.
Unknown. It is mysterious.
And it does add to the mystique.
But I will tell you, though, that depending on the version that you buy, the book here on the table has 3 initiates on it. But it's been said, I want to say in the mid 1900s in France, they were selling the Kybalion with Atkinson as the author. So it's been figured out for a long time. So. Or suggested, I should say. I don't think there's any real question anymore, but still, it's a mystery. We don't really know. So let's bring it all together, John. The Kybalion is a book of philosophy published during the mid-New Thought era. The distilled Hermetic principles suggest that, like the reality-creating mind of the all, of which you and I are a part, you too have the ability to shape your own reality with your thoughts if you can unlock the secrets in the principles. The Kybalion is a self-help book, to use a modern-day label, but self-help, or at least the concept, is actually as old as the oldest referenced texts. Philosophy literally means love of wisdom. So all philosophy is self-help, in a sense. I mean, the entire point is to espouse ideas and for others to make their own inquiries about existence, knowledge, values, reason, mind, and language. Atkinson distilled ancient Hermetic philosophy he came across into a book, The Kybalion, that invites others to do the same. Now, he himself returned from a place of mental and physical exhaustion and financial collapse and found renewed vigor and vitality. After transmuting his own mind and body from dis-ease to health, he wanted to help others. To do so, he wrote the Kybalion and many, many other books, often hiding his identity with pseudonyms to create a vast array of books for his publishing company. William Walker Atkinson, the Swami of Baltimore, died November 22nd, 1932 in California. The slip tells us the climate of California reminded Atkinson of Maryland. He was cremated.
I'm still a little... this is... Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's changed.
I mean, I've been to California.
It's nice.
It's nice. It
is
nice.
A beautiful state.
First of all, it's not as humid, and But
yeah. Well, maybe he's like, well, this is
better,
like Maryland, but better,
but not humid.
Not humid. Well, he was cremated, and the location of his ashes are unknown, which is probably for the better. I think he would probably have a following and lots of visitors to his gravesite. It's probably, that's okay. We don't know where he is, and that's probably just as well.
Yep.
He's an unknown guy, a lot of mystery.
Unknown.
It's unknown. So an unknown writer wrote in dedication to Atkinson, go ahead and read it. It's a quote. You should read it.
His works continue to inspire, instruct, and challenge readers to explore the depths of their own potential.
Thank you, John. So,
anytime.
That at a minimum appears to be the case, right? All right, so in my view, whether we receive these truths from Hermes Trismegistus, some yogi, or a positive thinking French mental genius, or the Swami of Baltimore, doesn't really matter. These Hermetic principles and the axioms challenge us to engage with them as they are and explore ideas. And they, like Atkinson's work, the Kybalion, have stood the test of time, and many keep seeking out this work to unlock the mysteries with the keys found within. The question is, will you? Don't go away. We'll be right back. And that is the story of the Kybalion. Yes. Excellent. Yes, that's the story. As I understand it. I'd be happy to know if others have opinions. Leave comments. But that's not really the end of our discussion.
Are we reading comments? Yeah. No.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
We will read comments.
Well, where do you want to go?
Well, I would like there are some
Yeah,
we've got a good amount of time here, and I did leave discussion bullets, and this is sort of an experiment. But I didn't script this because for one, there are some areas that I thought would be good to just have discussions about. And the first thing is a new thought description for those that may not be familiar with that movement.
Yeah, so that's new thought with a capital N, capital T.
That's correct.
This is a thing. This is a movement. This is named. So yeah, maybe providing a little context for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they do have a couple of words here, but it's so basically new thought is a coalescence of ancient knowledge from an array of many cultures and beliefs. As you might imagine, Greek and Egyptian, but also Roman, Chinese, Hindu, Taoist, and Buddhist traditions as well. You did hear that Iranian and Jewish influences from the Middle East, certainly part of it as well.
Not shocking.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is really just, it's all game.
Yeah, this is a period of time where Western occultists are looking for new material in some ways, and they're reaching out to the East, to the Middle East, to Asia, to the Indian subcontinent. I think there's
just an open cross exchange of East and West. I mean, I think it's really where it starts to come together, and.
Dare I say that there's probably a whiff of colonialism involved as well.
Yeah, well,
that could get us down another rabbit hole that I don't really want to.
Yeah, well,
but I want to acknowledge that that's there as well.
Right, yeah. I mean, that is in fact an era, and in the sad case, that there's intermingling under that under that umbrella. But also, there's a reading pin for me. There are some of the interesting characters from that era that are worth reading on. One of them is Paramahansa Yogananda, which is a very popular guru that I'm not going to even try and describe his life and work, but I'm reading on him. He's got some interesting ideas. And he and many others of this era have some core beliefs which are coming together under this New Thought movement. You've heard about a good bit of them, but the three that I've picked out are such that, number one, God or infinite intelligence is supreme, universal, and everlasting. Next is all people are spiritual beings and divinity dwells within each person. And there's a lot to unpack there. Our mental states are carried forward into manifestation and become our experience in daily living. So it's, there are some angles to this that make this a unique movement. So I think it's worth mentioning also that some adjacent groups are in parallel underneath the movement. If you were to imagine that this is a movement and there are branches and so forth, or families of different types of thought, one is the Christian Science group of that movement. And it's important to say that the Christian Science rejects New Thought, by the way, outright. They don't want to be thought to be a part of it. And they are characterized as being a more conservative or strict lane in the New Thought movement, although they do get, sort of lumped into that movement. Whereas the New Thought movement itself and offshoots like positive thinking with Norman Vincent Peale and others is the more liberal side of this, right? Mm-hmm. So not so strict, not so much dogma, which the Christian Scientists seem to cling to. A larger separate movement we have touched upon, I think like a whole lane over, is the spiritualism movement that we've touched upon, and that includes Rosicrucianism in there as well. So that'll give you some things to look up and read upon. I've read the Rosicrucian core doctrine, and it's an interesting read. I'll pull that forward and pull some interesting elements out of that for maybe another episode.
Yeah, they have their own tradition back.
They do
as well,
but it's not really all that surprising. There's there's the idea of spirit and soul and their whole structure of how a human is connected to a higher self.
It's a much more humanist movement, and then some of the other things it's related. Yeah, there's a real roiling of Western occultism at the turn of the 20th century. Mm-hmm. Various things start splitting off. So the Hermetic tradition really was tied to traditional magic practices, divination, alchemy, those kinds of, but at this point it's splitting because science is beginning to take on more importance in the world. So that's coming into conflict with the magical side of things. So you actually, I think of this as a big branch into a more intellectual side, which New Thought is part of. And then there's still a magical strand, which it begins to sort of die out, but is probably in some ways, if it's not better known, some of the characters of it are better known, like William Butler Yeats, the tarot card, the Rider-Waite deck that people are familiar with comes out of that. And of course there's the infamous Aleister Crowley on that magical side. My drawing over here. Yeah, but they're
way over.
And not to say these things are related. What I'm saying is that there is a split. There are rejections of certain things. This is the more intellectual side, rejecting the mystical, magical side.
It's almost,
but they could still sort of wave at each other.
It's the analogous Christian family tree that you see. I mean, all the different sects and schisms and so forth. So it's the same thing here.
But whichever one you belong to is the one that's correct.
Well, which is sort of the negative, the tribalism.
Yeah.
But okay. Yeah, but just to give anybody that wasn't aware of the New Thought movement, they put some roots in the ground for you to think about if you're not familiar with that.
Yeah, what I'm not clear on, but also seems somewhat related, is how the Theosophists, Madame Blavatsky's group, sort of figures into this splitting of that tree. But I think they tend to be more intellectual oriented than magical. but I'm not sure they completely reject the magical.
Yeah.
But they haven't been mentioned
But
at
I
all.
think the
I don't want to go
magical
down
and
that
the-
rabbit hole.
yeah,
I'm
I
sure
think
we'll run
we
into the
can-
Theosophists later. I just don't want to ignore them here because if somebody out in the audience is screaming, "What about Blavatsky?"
Yeah, that's there. Well, I mean, if
she's
you
there, we
look
know.
at the rendering that I have over here, that's really strictly under the. Well, I say strictly, just according to this drawing, right? That helps me sort of set the tone of my mind. That's really under the spiritualism. This isn't distinct.
No.
And I find it interesting that you bring in the magical side and then sort of the more liberal, mental side. I think that's always existed, right? And I think that there's a part of it that is there is the mental side, which is the connection of divinity and gnosis, right? There is that side, but then there's a practical side, which is the alchemy that people associate with the Hermeticist, which is really the beginnings in the roots of chemistry.
So yes,
right?
they are. Yes,
and so there's a practical side which strays deeply into practical magic, but then there's the mental side which is more philosophical. But yeah, lots of pins, lots of good pins,
lots of pins, lots of threads to pick up. But I think the takeaway here is that roiling scene, the boiling pot of Western occult tradition at this point. And this is simply one strand coming out of it that, does go on to have some legs because it is part of that more intellectual side, less mystical, which still exists today. I don't know if you want to get to that.
Yeah, well,
because it rejects the magical piece. It's a little easier for the modern mind to latch on to.
Yeah, I think it's straying away from the strictly magical, right, where there's an incantation and that sort of thing, and it really tries to cleave in the same way that Atkinson did to the scientific findings of the day are starting to reconcile with some of these core principles, and that we did touch upon when we talked through the core principles,
right?
And how, and I mean, there's just this small, tiny anecdote of Planck's quote.
Well, as we've discussed before,
invoking words that's in these 7 principles.
As we've discussed before, the Venn diagram of this is just a mess.
It is a mess, but
it really is not an easy thing to draw.
It's funny you should say that. It is a mess, right? People are messy, as we like to say, right? Stories get messy.
One of my favorite phrases.
But I do feel like, and this is me personally saying, that I think that every once in a while there comes a writer or a thinker that is an outlier, right? And I think that's a popular term today, but an outlier. I think this book is an outlier that has risen above the noise with a signal that is small, sharp, and clear and distinct. And I think that in the messiness of the interpretations, the translations, the practices, the mystery schools that have branched off and sectorized and dogmatized and doctrinized and indoctrinized and everything, right? Walker comes along with 3 initiates, if he's standing on the shoulders of Maitland and Kingsford, right, that he writes this distilled statement of some of these, and whether it's based on these interpretations or not, there's still a clarification to it. It's almost the cleaning of it and a redressing of it for a new age, which, oddly enough, is one of the New Age is part of it, right?
New Age is often the umbrella for the more intellectual slant.
Have you seen this up here?
But
have you seen this?
I see you pointing at it, but
I know it's not
your computer screen
your
and your
line.
boom mic are in my
I should have printed one for you.
Yeah, I now I'm dying to see it because I'm curious how it. Oh no, you don't have to rip it off. Oh, he ripped it off the wall.
It's just tape. It's okay. We can afford tape.
Okay, and I've got
it's in the budget.
Now I'm looking at it upside down. This doesn't make any sense at all, Mike. Hold on. Okay.
I told you it was messy.
Yeah, it's messy. Yeah, there's Crowley, Thelema.
Yeah, but he's under the spiritualism side. Hubbard. We're not really touching upon him.
Yeah, I mean, these things are... See, the other thing is I'm making it sound like they're mutually exclusive, and they're really not.
They're not. They do stray over, but in order to draw a clean drawing, right, you have to sort of put some bounds on them.
Yeah.
And there's probably some core core principles that they're using to draw.
This
those
is
boxes.
a very interesting diagram.
Yeah, there's
to the
a
point
lot
where
to think about.
There are things on here I'm not sure I really want to read out loud because people will get upset about. But yeah, I tend to agree with it.
Yeah. Well, and anybody listening to this podcast, if you've gone down this road, you may already know. Yeah, I mean, you're familiar with some of this stuff. And potentially the controversy, but we don't really want to talk about controversy today. We're just giving out information. Read with great vigor and take in information. But I did want to move into something a little bit more fundamental, which I think is underlying all of this. And I realized I probably do want to back up. Yeah, let me back up real quick.
Right.
Before we leave New Thought.
Oh, sorry.
That's
I was backing up.
Yeah,
okay.
We should get a clean recording of that so I can insert that whenever I wish. But there are New Thought criticisms, and I heard an interview the other day. I don't know if you're familiar with Mitch Horowitz. He's a famous writer, thinker, philosopher, a media character, personality, who as himself, right? But he's a hermetic and esoteric knowledge writer, and he was being interviewed about New Thought criticisms, and this does start to stray into what you had mentioned before with The Secret. I don't want to talk about The Secret because I don't know enough about The Secret other than what I saw in the movie. But the criticisms are that it's kind of taken on the bumper sticker and fridge magnet treatment, right? Like, manifesting abundance, right? And all the feel-good slogans.
Here I am manifesting abundance.
Yeah, the motivate. And you know what bothers me is, the people that I think that, people that, we'll just say that the people that are really have received benefit from this information, I think probably are not really happy with the bumper sticker effect. But I think it also gets...
I think that's true of any secret knowledge that gets distilled down to a few things. It
does, but...
You asked me last time what really bothered me about this, and it's like, well, this parallels my journey in traditional martial arts and going outside of them. Is that they're always gatekeepers, and I know more than you that do people.
Yeah.
And I have a secret, and I'll reveal my secret. And then you find out the secret is magic chi balls.
How to make mac and cheese.
And it's just like, dude, please. Well,
but that's to say that across all the mystery schools or anybody that thinks they have a mystery, right? Some do, some don't.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah,
you'll never know unless you ask.
That's true. It's just my experience has been there are a lot of charlatans involved.
Unfortunate one.
And but at the same time, there are people who do derive personal benefit from any of these secret.
Well, and that's
doctrines,
really
teachings,
what the answer to
disciplines.
the criticisms has been. And one of the I can't quote their interview word for word, but the idea was that, you've got people out there. On one hand, you've got the person that says, I put my hand out and I thought a lot about $500 and it never appeared in my hand. And they're expecting some literally magical dollars to appear in their hand, right? And it's like, well, this is not manifesting reality. It doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. And Mitch's response, and I didn't want to speak for him, but effectively he was basically saying, that's not how it works.
Okay.
And what they went on to say was that, there is a lot of subtlety that's often missed in what any reasonable person that has thought about this and contemplated this. When it comes to manifestation, it is companies do it. For example, what's our vision statement? What's our mission statement? Right.
Right.
It's a way to paint the shining city on the hill and to say we're marching towards this.
Yeah.
And things that don't agree with this, we're not going to do.
So let me agree with all of that, and I guess we're back to my essential criticism, which is none of this is very secret.
But I'm
not deriving.
Yeah,
agree.
I think you're unhealthily stuck on secrets, and I think your experience is
maybe not. I don't know. It's
and you don't color everything with the bad experience you have, and that's been my experience. Is that I think that I can't say that I have I cannot tell you that I've been exposed to secrets, but I'm not a joiner. I'm not going to go join the Masons
Right.
and go ask to see what their piece of knowledge is. But I think it has a lot to do with what we mentioned above, cast not pearls before swine, right? I think that there are the people that expect $500 to appear in their hand, right, are not really contemplating the way that this
And in a sense,
they are not
the universe
apprehending
deservedly slaps them down by not giving them the $500.
right, and that there are subtleties that are lost on certain folks that are misinterpreting how it's supposed to work. And again, I would go on to say that there is the answer to that was the other thing I should say, the criticism was that the movement itself is not really doing a good job to both explain that, is what they said. I'm repeating thoughts of others, but that also for the legitimately sick folks, for example, or folks that have true grievous injury or harm or circumstances that they wish to change, that are reaching out for something and not having good success, and they're not apprehending maybe the principles of how to do this, but they're really not getting any good results. The movement doesn't have much for them. And so that was sort of an open criticism that folks that are working in this knowledge and who are putting out information really need to be able to talk to people that are maybe not getting the support that they need, right, if their circumstances. And that is another massive, massive rabbit hole to go down. I just wanted to bring these very real criticisms forward.
And I have some thoughts about them, but they could.
Right.
Yeah, it's yes. I think you're hitting the wave tops on this
I am.
appropriately.
Yeah.
That people who have real serious problems cannot just imagine, think, wish, however you want to term it, their way out of it. Because the universe.
There are designs.
Yeah, you could in this worldview you could say in some ways the universe continues to be larger than you and have its own.
Well, one
thing going.
One thing to understand, I think, is that's misunderstood is that you are not in a vacuum bubble, creating your own life. Right. If you and I are here.
Right.
And so I want something, and you're diametrically opposed to it mentally, there is a reconciliation that the universe at large, which is basically everything else, has to account for. And so one of the statements that is made about how this works is that when you imagine it as if you've already received it, and you feel the emotion of having received what you're looking for, it's then that the universe works to bring it to you. But you cannot be hung up on the method by which the universe gives it to you, which is a way of saying that be careful what you wish for is one part of it, but the other thing is what you get back may be what you need, but not what you wanted. So
you still have to put some work into this. It's not just a case of me thinking I need $500 in the palm of my hand. I should probably also go to work.
Right. Well, that is something when people say, "Have you tried this?" I go, "Yes, I have."
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and without going into a lot of detail, I have reached certain financial goals, personal ones, and that will be as much as I'll say. And way back when I would perceive or conceive of I want to visualize this and make this happen. You know what manifested? A book on investing.
Yeah. What
manifested was an article that had me drop a bad habit. That like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be smoking cigarettes. Hey, maybe you should do bench presses in this way, which improves my life. Well, now, I know that doesn't sound like a one-to-one translation of like a financial goal and doing bench presses, but believe me when I say that, at the end of the day, I got where I was going. And yes, as there's another saying that says, God will help those that help themselves, which I think is another saying that has entered the lexicon of our lives.
I don't think anybody sane is going to say that somebody who doesn't think positively, in the sense of they get up in the morning and they are sure that they can make a difference, they can go out there and do good work and be productive, that kind of positivity is going to be more effective and reach goals than the sad sack Eeyore type who gets them with nothing ever goes my way.
Right.
Of course, nothing's going to happen to that person. So yes, but we're back to and hey, you way back at the beginning of this, you gave the spoiler. I scrolled up. I'm going to quote you. It is not necessarily easy and not for everyone. It's not for me. What I am getting at though is that I understand how this could be effective in bringing forth that kind of positive energy in somebody's life that allows them to be effective. If this is the way they order their thinking, I can understand why good things do happen to them, why their goals that they set are reached. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. But I'm back to this isn't my thing, because I don't think you need the secret knowledge to do it. But hey, if you got to it by coming at it through the secret knowledge route, I shouldn't be telling you that was silly.
Well, I think that also the secret, the occult knowledge, I think, is still a function that's there. But I think, again, this is probably, I don't want to give too much away, because there's some other areas that we do have definite pins in that I think are talking about. But if I want to manifest myself as someone that's going to have lasagna for dinner, for example, right? And I want that future to be my present.
Yep.
What do I need to do to bring that into my present moment where the thought becomes the reality? Well, in my case, I just called my dear lady friend.
Yeah, that's right.
She's like, sure.
And she's manifesting lasagna for everyone.
It really is. And it's magic, I'll tell you. But everybody does it every day. Someone that has a thought of, I want to be a golfer, you don't go and learn wrestling.
No,
you buy shoes and you take a lesson, and you buy clubs and you bring people into
your life that can teach you how to be a better golfer,
and so that
golf with you, so that you and you get better over time.
Right.
And yes, and if I say, well, I'm never going to be a good golfer,
then you never will.
Then I never will be a good golfer.
Henry Ford said it best.
Yes.
He says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of fun. I do want to do a couple more things, and we still have a little bit of time.
I know we still haven't hit your big thing. I hope I didn't drag you too far.
No. The next one, I'm really going to just do a quick touch upon what I think is the underlying argument here, and it's basically materialism versus idealism, and this is squarely 2 feet in consciousness study. The hard problem of consciousness, and just to set the tone. I don't mean materialism as in, communism versus, any other form of economy or something like that. Where we're talking materialism as a way to understand consciousness versus idealism. And I'm reading this book, and I'm going to tell you that the book is Why Materialism is Baloney, which I think is a great title, and it's by Bernardo Kastrup. Kastrup. And I'm in the midst of reading this. I'm highlighting like heck. And I'll just tell you a little spoiler, like when I'm highlighting things that I want to pull out and talk about potentially, if this has any legs, I'm finding a lot of the same terms from the core principles in the instructions for or in the writings on idealism. So if you're not familiar with those, check those out. Materialism versus idealism. This is an age-old study, an age-old argument, because you've got real vociferous camps of thought there. Finally, this is a podcast about paranormal stories and paranormal things.
The
unknown, right? And so bringing the Kybalion forward had a purpose for me. And I'm inviting John officially as we seek to close out this episode. But we're going to do what we're calling a paranormal consciousness study. And this is, John, also, now you can help me, right? This is also, it is synonymous with the paranormal unified field theory, the PUFT. Is that
puffed,
correct?
yes.
The PUFT.
Not my term.
I hate that term.
I have to give credit to Dr. Jeb Card.
Okay, there you go.
Who's an archaeologist and a podcaster out there who came up with the PUFT.
Okay,
Paranormal Unified Field
I did not
Theory.
know that.
Yes.
And that's about all I want to know about it.
No.
But I like the concept and the idea. But what I'm proposing is that I know I will be, and I've been on this for a while, but the Paranormal Consciousness Study, PCS, is an attempt to look for and find evidence that backs up the idea that all of these, the whole array of paranormal experiences can exist in a worldview or a philosophy, right, that explains it all, that says, yes, that is an occurrence that can happen in this construct, and it explains all the strange things that happen. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to diverge away from anything that has puffed on it or anything, and only so I can conduct an experiment that's not influenced by that.
Okay.
I'm only aware of that term because you brought it to me. I have not Googled it, and I don't intend to.
No,
I intend to follow my nose.
It's interesting you came up with this consciousness thing, because I think that is a theme that is wittingly or unwittingly prevalent in current
It is
contemporary paranormal media, whether it's the podcasts or the TV shows.
Well, and
I think
UAP, there's a lot of suggestion that
and
this
I think
is
you're onto something. So I like where you're going with this. I'm just going to let you develop it, and I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, and we'll need your critical eye on it.
Yeah.
And so, it'll be a good backboard to swat some of these ideas off of.
Yeah, I tend to be more materialist, but,
I realize that. And maybe at the end we'll see where we land.
And not in the communist sense.
Right. Yeah, you got to be careful. Materialism is not.
No. I'm a rational. I tend to be more rational. I tend to, but I think that was
your
one of the
walls are
reasons
coming down a little bit.
Well,
because you shared with me over text, you were like, there was a synchronicity I had, and I'm like, oh, do tell.
But that is
that's where I do want to close.
That's okay.
Well, no, go. Keep going.
Close that. Well, no, it's just I'm also a human being, and my interest in this stuff tends to be whatever rational explanation might be there, whatever solution there might be, there might not be. There is no denying that human beings are experiencing these paranormal things that we are talking about, and those stories fascinate me. Mm-hmm. I don't have to. I don't have to believe in the haunted house to enjoy the haunted house story of Howard Lodge. Mm-hmm. I can enjoy that. I can accept that those people had experiences and described them a certain way in those cases. Mm-hmm. And it's also because I'm human, and because I get wrapped up in those stories, it's real easy to fall into those patterns of thinking and accept them and have the fun with them. Mm-hmm. So if I do roll off into that, that's usually what's happening is I'm having the fun. I'm having the fun.
Right,
I'm trying to vicariously have that experience too. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to step back and go, well, pressure changes in the house might have swung that door closed. Because I've experienced that.
Well, but the thing is, you absolutely have to look for those things, right?
Right.
Well, and the other interesting thing
I also don't want to be the debunker all the time. That's no fun. That's no fun. Don't be that guy. Don't be.
Well, you've sort of took on that mantle, and because you've said it, and that's fine. But if you want to take it off, take it off. I think what's interesting about us doing this is that I was once an atheist. Hardcore. I was also a skeptic, hardcore, until I started to look at the other skeptics that I was standing up with, and I didn't like their MO.
I gotcha.
I started calling it drive-by skepticism, to borrow a term from another figure. But help me or understand it, please, when I say that it just seemed like I will drop by. I will hang out the window long enough to give my derisive comment, and then I will keep going.
It's all owls.
Yeah, and an example I'll give, and I won't name too many names. Well, I won't name any names.
Don't name any.
I'm not going to name any names. But there was a
moment.
podcast where there was a skeptic and then a journalist that were talking, And I will name the specific location. But the journalist had been to and climbed the pyramids. And the skeptic had never even been in Egypt.
Right.
And the journalist was saying, have you ever been to the top of the pyramids? Have you ever seen the size of these blocks? Have you ever been, the orientation and everything else? And the skeptic was like, yeah, but they were just motivated. and it's like, I just don't agree with that for many reasons. But what bothered me most, not that he would hold that belief, but it was the tone, and it was the words that he used is ridiculous, right? And it's like, but you've never been there, and I can understand you don't have to go there to have an opinion about it, but it was so dismissive, and so that and many other instances with that individual were troubling to me, and so the other thing that I realized is that most of these topics, all it takes is a couple of quick Google searches and reading a couple articles to realize it's never as simple as it appears.
Yeah.
It's never as simple as it appears.
Yeah, and that's the other reason to have a podcast is to sort of, if I can't, I don't, like I said, I don't want to debunk everything, but if I offer rational explanations, it's to acknowledge that there are some things that I can't know, that I can't explain, because I'm limited in my knowledge.
In some cases,
I'm a liberal arts guy. I'm not a STEM guy. I can't tell you how they got the capstone on the pyramid, other than they were motivated. And but you're right. It's a ridiculous statement. It
is ridiculous.
But I'm sure I can find some engineers who could tell you, well, these are some ways you could do it, but do any of them satisfy? I don't know.
Right.
Probably
well,
not.
That's one we could look
still
into.
Unknown.
Today, there were, I think that particular one, the pyramid is still unknown.
Yeah.
As are many sites across the world. So as you can see, there are a lot of pins. It's just littered over this. I hope you've enjoyed listening about the Kybalion, and I hope you'll be interested to hear as we progress through the consciousness study, the PCS, the Paranormal Consciousness Study that we're embarking on. And we hope to have at least one episode per season where we check in and we see where we are, because, I've got to do the reading and the onboarding of the information. Sense,
what you're describing is really a thread that runs through all the episodes.
It does.
Does. We're going to check in specifically occasionally.
But I'm going to take off ramps, and I'm going to stop by the little town and find the ghost story and tell a good ghost story. So there's a lot here. There's a lot of purpose behind this. We really hope you enjoyed it. And if you were inspired to pick up this book, I say go for it. Especially if you feel like it really challenges your opinion on things, or, hey, I thought of the world a little differently. Maybe this will open my mind a little bit. And that's what we want to do. I know I have an open mind. So anyway, gang, we really appreciate you listening. I know there was one more thing I wanted to touch upon, and I'm looking at the screen, and I don't see it.
I don't think you missed anything.
I don't think so either. Maybe that was it. But we definitely wanted to prescribe the PCS. And then do you want to talk about where we're going next? Because after all, there's a certain holiday coming that the paranormal really enjoys. I know I enjoy the holiday.
Yeah.
Certain aspects of it.
So we looked at our proposed release schedule, and we noticed that the last episode of this season would fall on Halloween. Mm-hmm. So we picked a particularly appropriate Maryland story to tell you, maybe around a campfire.
Ooh, interesting.
For Halloween.
Good setup.
It's got monsters.
It's got beer.
It's got ghosts, and it's got liminal spaces. It's got everything.
It's got low.
It's got everything, and it's the perfect Halloween story.
Yeah, and I get to do a lot of sound sweet.
Oh, we're gonna do some stuff. We're gonna try something. We're gonna try something different next time, kids.
It's gonna be great.
Yep.
It's gonna be exciting. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you for joining. As always, remember, John and I love going into the unknown. If you don't have the time, listen to us. We'll bring the unknown to you. We'll drop it at your feet, and we'll show you the kills.
Like your house cat.
Yes, like
comes
Max.
and brings you. Yes, it comes and brings you little offerings. Here's a mouse, master.
That's right. That's right. He does that. He also loves to play with his toys,
Here's
too.
a
He's a good boy.
centipede that I've ripped apart.
That's right. Cave crickets. All right, we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for joining. We appreciate it. We had fun on this one.
Yeah,
It was a great one. And it was such a cool story. So we'll see you next time on Into the Unknown. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.